Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first Soccerex Supplement. It's such a special occasion we thought we'd scour the globe for three wise men. Unfortunately, we couldn't find any, but we ended up instead with Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail, Rob Palmer, ESPN, La Liga / Sky commentator, and the Silver Fox himself, the one and only Newcastle diehard, John Richardson from the Sunday Mirror. Hi fellas, how are you?
All ready to go.
Good to see you all. Mike Keegan's been abroad. Mike, first of all, are you looking forward to the new season?
No, it feels like the old one's just finished. No, I am. It's I'm sure once it starts, we'll be straight into it, and a lot of fascinating things to how Ten Hag's going to get on at United. Obviously, it looks like you might as well just give the Premier League title to City now. So yeah, I'll see you in May next year.
Rob Palmer has, he'll be casting his eye over not just British football, but La Liga as well for ESPN. Have you been doing your swatting, Rob, or are you such a consummate professional you don't have to do that these days?
My life, Rob, is so sad after speaking to you today. I'm driving to Chesterfield. I never thought I'd be saying this. I'm driving to Chesterfield to say Real Betis play Marseille. Sounds like some kind of cheese dream that I'm having, doesn't it? But I think they're overtraining in the Midlands. So yeah, I'm going to go see the Betis boys tonight and get familiar with those guys who won the Spanish Cup final last year. So yeah, it starts, but of course Spanish football starts a couple of weeks after England because of the heat.
Brilliant. Rico, have you been dyeing your hair grey over the summer?
That's where I've been, mate. That's where I've been. Italia.
Did you have a good time? You were in Tuscany, weren't you?
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, great. Went to Siena's ground. Remember Siena? They were once in Serie A, but sadly now in Serie B. Money problems hit them. But yeah, great. All set to go, and Blackburn Rovers on Saturday for me.
Fantastic. Mike says it's give the title to City. Mike, do you honestly believe that, or will Liverpool or anyone else have a say in it?
I do. I just think, City obviously were a machine last year and won it by a point. They didn't have somebody last season who could put the ball away, and they still won the league by a point. They've clearly got that now in Haaland. It only took him, 11 minutes against Bayern Munich to show what they'd been missing. So I just think if he keeps fit, Calvin Phillips again looks like a magnificent signing for them to fill that kind of Fernandinho role. And I just think there's nobody that can come anywhere close to them. Liverpool obviously have lost Mane, and we'll see how they do. But again, with Liverpool, a couple of injuries at Liverpool, and you might as well just call it off.
Rob Palmer, do you think Erling Haaland's a signing for the Premier League or to win the Champions League?
Good question, Rob. I think he obviously with City, the Holy Grail is winning that Champions League. If I speak too loudly, my missus is a City fan, you know her well. She'll probably come in and start berating me. But it does annoy them that they haven't won the Champions League yet. And he might be that one component that's missing. And I think it's great for the Premier League as well, in that the best players in the world now are coming to the Premier League rather than we had him in La Liga for a number of years. And Haaland is such an exciting talent. We're going to see him week in, week out with our very own eyes. He did have a few injury problems last season. It wasn't his best season over there in Germany. But I'm so excited at seeing him and seeing him in the City team as well. And seeing how he's integrated by Pep Guardiola. Because he's never really played with a big centre forward. He famously didn't get on well with Ibrahimovic when he was at Barcelona. So he's going to have to change his ways a bit as a coach as well. So it's going to be a really interesting integration at City this season to make him a Manchester City player.
Very important season for Pep Guardiola, because let's face it, he was brought in by the money men there to do one thing. That was really to win the Champions League. The Premier League's been won by Mancini and Pellegrini. This is the one they wanted, and so far he hasn't produced that. He's been close, of course, but this is an important season for them. Yeah, it's going to be City or Liverpool for the title, but I think that if City continue missing out on the Champions League, then you have to look at Guardiola's reign and say, is it a fantastic success? Success in many ways, but that is the one they want. It's the Champions League, and if he doesn't deliver that, then some people could say he's failed.
Mike, is Rico right?
Yeah, I don't disagree. As Rico says, Mancini won the Premier League, Pellegrini won the Premier League. So when you bring Pep in, you're looking at winning that Champions League. I think there is a recognition among the higher ups at City that it is different, and it's a knockout competition when you get to the latter stages, and sometimes it's not as straightforward as being the best team over 38 games. But yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I'd say if he doesn't win it this year, he's been a failure at City, because they will point to the way that they've played football, the goals that they've scored, the way people will say that they kind of redefine the way everybody else is playing. But yeah, if you're... I know that City fans still... The Premier League is their bread and butter, but it will irk them that they've not done it, especially when you look at how many times Liverpool have done it now. So they will be looking at this season as, come on, Pep, now it's time for us to end this hoodoo.
Rob, I mean, you've watched Pep in La Liga down the years. Has he changed as a manager, do you feel? And do you think he'll have to change to sort of like keep developing, if you like?
It's interesting when he does get a little block, when he had Mourinho over. Mourinho got in his head when he was at Real Madrid. I mean, he really stressed Pep out. And then when he finished at Barcelona, you may remember he headed over to New York for a year. He improved his English. He chilled himself out. And then he came back to Germany. Then he came back to England as well. So it does have these kind of little mental blocks. And I think the Champions League is that with him. And we see him when they get to the quarter-final, the semi-final stage of the competition, that he sometimes tries to be a little bit too clever. So he did that a little bit in La Liga when Mourinho came, and he kind of sussed him out, and he worked out how to get under the skin of Pep Guardiola. But yeah, he's matured. He's got the backup there as well. He's got the money. He's been allowed to go out and sign players. And it's very rare that you've got to a second edition of a Pep Guardiola team, because when he was at Bayern, he inherited a team and kind of kept them ticking over. When he was at Barcelona, he brought through all those players when they were so young and had a good, the best part of a decade with them. Whereas City now is having to rebuild a team that he partly inherited and he's partly built himself. So this is kind of Pep Mark II, really.
With Darwin Nunez, can Liverpool not really push them? Or do you feel it's not quite a transitional season for Liverpool, but I guess with the loss of Sadio Mane, you could possibly say it is?
Again with Nunez, I think ideal with Liverpool when Klopp signs a player, he likes him to come in and to integrate himself into the club. Diaz was an exception last year that they signed him in January, and he was an immediate impact. Yeah, Mane is gone, but I think one of the players had to go. They kind of, you're signing a contract which takes them into their 30s, and the fact that as he's gone to Germany, he's clearly been happy to leave Liverpool to go into the next part of his career as well. Maybe the biggest signing in the Premier League of the whole summer was Mo Salah re-signing for Liverpool Football Club. I mean, that is a major signing. He's very chilled out now. Compare him to other players I'm sure we're going to be talking about who are creating their own kind of fashion labels and they're on Twitter. His was just a really chilled, you have signed, book, gone, it's gone, and he'll be scoring the goals again next season. And the thing about Liverpool, they've got some good players coming through as well. You've got Curtis Jones, you've got Harvey Elliott, and it's a chance for these players to come through now and for Klopp to create the pathways to the first team.
I think Sadio Mane is a shocking loss, really, for Liverpool. I think Jurgen Klopp knows that. He was desperate to keep him. But to be fair, they don't keep unsettled players. Mane wanted a new challenge, which involved more money going to Bayern Munich. But I do feel that is a loss. Mo Salah staying, obviously, is a plus. But Mane is sort of streetwise. He knows the Premier League inside out. He's probably been, he has definitely been one of Liverpool's best players over the seasons. And I think that loss might come back to haunt Liverpool this season. I think it's going to be City's title. Liverpool will be up there, but I do think that side is now weaker without Mane.
My concern as well, Rob, would be I don't think they'll struggle scoring goals. I think with obviously the business that they've done, there won't be an issue with Liverpool scoring goals this season. The concern for me, if I was a Liverpool fan, would be at the other end of the field. So, if something happens to one of their defenders, one of their centre halves, how are they going to deal with that? We saw what happened when Van Dijk was injured, and how that really threw the season off the rails. I don't think they've strengthened enough in that position. So if that happens again, and it does tend to happen, then I think they'll come unstuck because of the defence rather than the attack.
Liverpool and Manchester City, Soccerex Supplement, the first of its genre. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
It's fantastic to see Soccerex back in Miami. We're incredibly honored to have him in our city. For them to be committed to coming to Miami on a regular basis and every time continuing to grow this fantastic event.
It's so nice to be back here and in person and around people again at an event where you have some of the most influential and important people in soccer in our region and from around the world. It's nice to see smiling faces and people that are back here and really enjoying it.
We needed this opportunity to get together, to talk to each other, to exchange ideas.
I think more than ever it's important. I mean, we've just come off almost 3 years of remote access and computer screens, and there's nothing quite like being in an event and the excitement and the buzz that you get from that.
I mean, it's just incredible, you know, the crowd here from Central, South America, from Europe, from the Far East. It's one big family, one big party.
There looks to be a lot of good new innovative technology, which for me as a performance director and sports scientist is exciting for me to see how we can develop the game with different kinds of technology.
The face-to-face social interaction that has left us over the last couple of years, that's how relationships get formed, that's how connections get established, that's how business gets done.
It's interesting to learn and see the reality and not only, papers and, regulations, so it's great.
I mean, our industry is one big family, all trying to grow the game in whatever aspect of the business that we're in.
Okay, we're back with the Soccerex Supplement with Mike Keegan, with John Richardson and Rob Palmer as well. Okay, if it's going to be Liverpool and Manchester City or Manchester City and Liverpool, John Richardson, who's going to be the closest challengers? Spurs and Arsenal, Chelsea? Who fancies their chances?
And you missed out Manchester United, of course, quite rightly. I think
we talk about them separately, I think.
Okay, always do. Anyway, moving on. Spurs, I've been very impressed with their buying. I think they've had the best summer. Some really top buys have come in. And also, of course, they've got Conte, who has made peace with Daniel Levy. He's got the players, well, most of the players he wanted. You look at that Tottenham side, and also, of course, they've still got Harry Kane. They've got Son. They've got now Richarlison. Richarlison can be a bit moody, but on Blob, he's a top player. And I can see Spurs now as the biggest challengers to Manchester City and Liverpool. Arsenal have done well. Buying. I think Mikel Arteta again has made it plain to Edu that's who he wants, and he's got most of the players he wants. But I'd go for Spurs for third place.
Mike, you were on tour with Chelsea in America just recently, and I read some of your stuff. You're saying, well, certainly the mood in the camp, and Tuchel's not particularly happy, is he?
No. When the tour started, we saw him, and almost immediately the first time we spoke to him, we thought, he looks very tired. And then the more we hear... So I think one of the big issues for Tuchel under the current ownership is that he is very much a coach. He's not the old school manager who will go out and scout players and sign players. He wants to work with what he's given and spend all of his time on the training ground. So he actually admitted to us he was quite uncomfortable having to play quite a big role in their transfer business. And they are, where Chelsea will struggle is, the teams we've mentioned, Arsenal, Spurs, they've all got their business done early. They've had a long time to plan for this window, and it clearly shows. So they've done their business early, and Chelsea, obviously through no fault of their own with the sanctions and the takeover, are playing catch-up. The problem they've got is they've lost Christensen, Rudiger, and then there's a whole host of players there that want to... Tuchel said it himself, we've got players here who don't want to be here, but they're trying to find people to get them. So they're clearly in a state of transition. But until he can get those players out of the door, it's going to carry on with this kind of almost like an empathy there. Werner said to us, I asked him the question, he said, I just want to be playing. I just want to be happy and I want to be playing. And I said, well, will you be happy at Chelsea next season? And his answer was, I could be happy anywhere. And you're kind of taken aback. It's very rare you get a player who's that honest when you're speaking to them. So we dropped that on Tuchel, who bit and went crazy at it and said, if I had the contract he had at Chelsea, I'd be the happiest young man in the world. So there's a lot playing out in the background there. I mean, he's a great coach, and we don't want to let our judgment be clouded because Kante hadn't been vaccinated, so he wasn't on the tour. Loftus-Cheek wasn't out there. They have great players. Mason Mount's a great player. Conor Gallagher has come back from loan. He looks like he'll be a very good addition. And then Chilwell's back from injury. The signings they have made, Koulibaly will slot in no problem. Raheem Sterling, if he plays like we know he can, will be another great addition. So you wouldn't want to rule them out, but there's a lot of work to be done, and it does feel like they are very much behind the rest of the top four at the moment.
It's Barcelona that keep tripping them up, isn't it, Rob Palmer?
It's bizarre. I was out in Spain in the summer. I won't give away any names, but I ended up in social company of one of the backroom staff of Chelsea. I didn't know particularly well, but we're in a really relaxed atmosphere. And we were with him for half a day, most of the day actually. His phone was constantly buzzing, and I didn't realise how much was happening in Chelsea. You think last year they were reasonably settled. They went through the problems with the ownership. There shouldn't be such a huge turnover there. And Thomas Tuchel is a very good manager, I think, when he's pretty chilled out. But you saw when he was at Paris Saint-Germain, when it gets a little bit hot under the collar, he kind of, I won't say panics a little bit, but he's not as effective. And I just feel that he's the captain of his ship at the moment that's lilting a little bit, and he doesn't feel that it's on an even keel. And Chelsea, I think you probably have to wait until after the World Cup to see the true Chelsea this season, when he finds out who wants to be there. They've gone through the transfer window, who's come back injured as well. So Chelsea are an unknown quantity, and I agree with the guys as well in that I think Tottenham have done really well. There's a harmony almost at Tottenham, which you rarely get, with Richardson coming in. Again, the biggest signings of the summer are keeping Son and Harry Kane at Tottenham Hotspur. And you've got a fearsome threesome up front there. You've got a world-class manager as well. And you see this week that they're making appointments behind the scenes at Tottenham as well. So it seems they now have an identification and a way to go at Tottenham, whereas previously you got the impression they were just making it up until the next new manager came along. Yeah,
Jermaine Defoe and Yaya Toure going to be involved in their academy. Manchester United, John Richardson, new boss, but the same old problems, mainly Cristiano Ronaldo. If you were Erik ten Hag, what would you be saying to Cristiano?
I'd say goodbye. You can't have this hanging over them. The season's about to start, and it's all about Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, the ego's so huge, isn't it? I mean, it's all about Cristiano. He comes first, Man United comes second as far as he's concerned. And it's time to say goodbye. I think they're trying to say goodbye to him, but I'm afraid George Mendes, his agent, is finding out that Cristiano Ronaldo at 37 isn't the Cristiano Ronaldo at 27 where everybody in the world wanted. Cristiano had a decent season last season. He was leading goal scorer. Didn't let them down on the field, but you just feel the ego's too big for Manchester United and for Erik ten Hag, because obviously discipline counts with him. He wants everybody on an equal stage, and with Cristiano that never happens. So I think the best thing for Manchester United is to say goodbye.
Will Erik ten Hag get a little bit of leeway in the press, Mike? Do you feel that after so many managers, so much change, or is it Manchester United and they'll still be booing Harry Maguire come what may?
Well, that's it. It's exactly that. It's Manchester United. So he's in for a rude awakening if he thinks he's going to get an easy ride from anybody. I think there is a recognition that he has a huge job on his hands. The Ronaldo situation, as Rico says, needs to be sorted straight away. I read over the weekend, I think there's some suggestion that Ronaldo could go out on loan for a season to a Champions League club and then come back to United if United get in the Champions League next year. It's like, well, good luck with the Stretford end with that one. They need you this season to see them through the rough times. But no, away you go, and when the hard work's done, you'll come back. There's not a chance. I mean, Rico said I'd say goodbye. I'd say, where do you want me to drive you to? And with Ronaldo, I think more and more in the latter years of his career, you see, if he plays well, it's very rare that everybody else plays well around him. It's all about him. So it's a huge job, and it will be an easier job if Ronaldo's not there.
He won't go to Spain, will he, Rob Palmer?
I don't think he will, Rob. I don't think it's any secret that his agent has offered him to every major European club. There's been a knock on the door to any club that you can name in England, any club that you can name in Italy, Germany or Spain, including the big two. I don't know about Atletico Madrid, but certainly the big two. And they've had a very polite no thank you. Well, but it passed Barcelona signing with the cruise that they're on at the moment, and the players that they're signing. There's some of the crazy things that are happening at the Camp Nou. But I agree with the lads, and I think it's a big issue. But maybe you look at what happened with Ancelotti, who over at Real Madrid handled the Hazard and the Gareth Bale situation brilliantly by... didn't ostracise them, but what he did, he moved them out of the first team pool, and they were around her in the club. But after 2 or 3 weeks, he did it with Sergio Ramos as well. After 2 or 3 weeks, you just get bored, and there will be Ronaldo sitting next to Sir Alex Ferguson, Ronnie Wood up in the director's box. And if they give Ten Hag his head, and I think he's quite a powerful and single-minded man as well, I suspect that's what he's going to be doing to Ronaldo.
You're with the Soccerex Supplement. When we come back, we'll be talking about the very best of the rest, including Rico's beloved Newcastle. Back in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to the Soccerex Supplement with Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail, Rob Palmer, who commentates for La Liga, for ESPN, amongst others, Sky Sports as well. He's doing a bit of South African stuff at the moment as well. And John Richardson from the Sunday Mirror, who hides behind his settee when Newcastle United play. Rico, will you be doing that this season?
I'm back. I'll be bouncing on the bed this time. Yeah. No, looking forward to the season. I think they've bought well. And there's 2 or 3 more players to come, but the main thing is Eddie Howe has proved himself. You know, a lot of people thought, would this job be too big for him? Well, no, it hasn't been too big for him. I think he's matured very quickly. He's handled lots of the political shenanigans going on behind the scenes very well, and it's a harmonious squad, and the club is together. We saw that in the last few weeks of the season. You know, the atmosphere at St James's Park was back to the Keegan era of the 90s. You know, everybody was with the club. You know, anybody going to Newcastle know they eat, they breathe football. That's the main thing that keeps everybody going. And for the last 11, 12 years, it's been depressing under Mike Ashley. But now under the new owners and under Eddie Howe, the only way is up.
The only way is up. I'm just wondering if the only way is down is for Everton. Rob, you're living on Merseyside. I mean, pre-season, they've signed James Tarkowski. They've lost Richarlison. The fans are going absolutely mad. You've got to worry for them, haven't you?
I think seriously so. I mean, the greatest thing about Everton were the fans at the end of the season who became the collective 12th man and lifted them out of that relegation zone right at the finish. And it was the raucous atmosphere at Goodison Park and when the fans went away from home as well. But the issue with Everton is now that they will expect better this season. And after 10 minutes of the first game, if Everton aren't winning by 2 or 3 goals, then the fans turn on the players as well. And it has been a horrendous summer for Frank Lampard there. They clearly have financial issues behind the scenes where they've got to get rid of players. But I thought that Everton and Barcelona never be compared. But they've got the same kind of issues, haven't they? That they maybe have to get rid of players before they can bring any players in. And they're still carrying so many players who've been good at other Premier League, top 6 Premier League clubs 5 or 6 years ago that Everton have signed, put them on top wages, 4 or 5 year contracts, and they're going to sit happily in their homes in Alderley Edge or out in Southport or wherever, and they're not going to want to go to any other Premier League team and earn anything less than they're getting at Everton. So he's got some big issues there. Yes, he's a coach, but they've got to manage their way out of trouble, and it's a maze at the moment for Everton. And maybe the solo aim for this season is maybe having a little bit of success in the cup, but just staying in the Premier League, because they have to be one of the favourites to go down the situation that they're in at the moment.
Mike, what do you think's going through Frank's mind at the moment?
I think going through Frank's mind is probably I'd take a repeat of what happened last season. As long as we're in the Premier League in 9 months' time, then he will see that as a job well done. It's how not to run a football club, Rob, and it's a shame because they are magnificent supporters. I know Rico mentioned about Newcastle and the atmosphere there. That atmosphere at Goodison when they needed them at the end of last season was, to me, one of the best atmospheres I've ever heard in the Premier League. And it's such a shame. The financial situation they're in is, again, it's similar to Chelsea. You know, this isn't the current guys making. It's not Lampard's fault that Everton can't really spend any money. It's clearly the sins of those that have gone before him. So I think an achievement for Everton is staying up. I think this season will be fascinating because there are so many teams that you think might get sucked into that relegation battle. You look at who's come up: Fulham, Fulham and Forest, and you look at, Wolves haven't really done much. It wouldn't surprise me if they're down there. How are Palace going to get on this season? But they overperformed last season. Brentford, Everton are in there. So I think the bottom of the table, excuse me, will probably end up being more interesting than the top.
Do you blame, or are you surprised that Jesse Lingard has gone to Nottingham Forest, John Richardson?
Jesse Lingard has gone to Nottingham Forest for one reason, hasn't it? Money.
Or 200,000 a week reasons, surely.
Well, it appears to be, yeah. I mean, can you blame people for doing that? Probably not. I mean, if somebody wants to offer us money to appear on this, we'd probably appear on it, wouldn't you? But joking, Rob. No, yeah, he's gone there for the money. West Ham fans are up in arms about it, but they had all summer to try and do something. But the worst thing was the stories about his agent was asking for a lot of money as well. And I'm afraid that is one of the modern ills of football, isn't it? That the agents now want to be sorted. Quite often the player is sorted, then a deal will fall down because you can't sort the agent out. And I'm afraid, that is a sign of the times we're in. But as back to Nottingham Forest, I think apart from that, I think that they brought in 10 or 11 players. They're going to have a go. And Steve Cooper did a magnificent job last season. I thought he should have been manager of the year throughout all the leagues. I thought what he achieved last season beat everybody really. But it's a big season for Forest.
Lads, we've come to the end. I just want to ask you, just literally, in a word, Mike Keegan, who wins the Premier League for you?
Manchester City.
Rico?
Manchester City.
Robbo?
Wife's listening. City will just edge it. Final day again, Rob.
Okay, while we're on as well, what about the Champions League? I'm putting you on the spot. Same again. Mike, give us a Champions League winner.
Manchester City.
John?
Surely got to be Paris Saint-Germain sometime.
Robbo?
Rob, never bet against Real Madrid. They're doing a very good job over there. Ancelotti is very cleverly rebuilding the team before our very eyes, and they are built for competing in the Champions League. So yeah, they'll do it again.
And finally, fellas, will England win the World Cup?
Yes.
Men's or women's, Rob?
more chance of the women than the men. More chance of the women than the men for me.
Exactly.
With that,
yes.
Mike Keegan, John Richardson, Rob Palmer. Hey, thanks, lads. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us today on the very first Soccerex Supplement. We'll do it all again very soon. Hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.